Hi, this is Lorraine, and I've been guided to create another video. If you'll give me a minute to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. There are two main messages that have come through, which I'll share right away, but there are a number of other items that have come through, so I would recommend using the timestamps to navigate the video if you would like. The first thing is there was very specific information on the procedures of first contact and the process. The second item that came in very strong was the land is not yours. The transition has begun. So I'm gonna start with there will be a lull with information on 3i Atlas. I think this is intentional for us to come together as a community, as a transcending community, to seek, find, and discover the significance of 3i Atlas and its purpose. So I don't want to dwell too much on that or discuss that too much, but I think the discussion and all the hypotheses or ideas that are being discussed about 3i Atlas are healthy and beneficial for us. Next, the process of first contact was very clear. It came in the next day after I created that last video, and it was just crystal clear. One of the additional messages that came through was the first contact is heavily structured, monitored, and protected. Heavily structured, monitored, and protected. There are no invitations for individuals to come to this ceremony of first contact and the process of first contact. Everyone attending must unlock the keys and codes, and that is done spiritually, energetically, through an expanded consciousness. And once you get to a certain level, you are allowed access. But at this point, there are only a handful of people or individuals with the capacity to access this event. First, we go to the asteroid 2025 PN7. That is the staging area and the observation port. And so once you're in that space, it is small is relative. To say it's small is relative because once you get into the port, you are I don't know how to describe it. You are in a different space. You've almost gone into a portal in and of itself. And that's a product of space and time, and I can't even begin to explain it, but it's interdimensional. It's a dimensional space. And I guess it's better to explain the space portal or Stargate or Space Gate. I'm not sure how to describe it, but once you get there, we move through this portal, and it's energetic. It's not physical. So there was the movie Stargate where they had that Stargate that they would move through and travel through it like a black hole or like a wormhole, and go from one place to another, and you would travel light years, right? And you'd be on a different world. This is a very similar process, but it is energetic. It's not a physical portal. You have to be at a certain level of expansion conscious with your consciousness, to be able to access and move through it safely. And there is no gauges that you use to move from one place to another. You use your consciousness to travel from the 2025 PN7 to the access point for first contact. And once you get through that gate, you end up in a I don't want to call it a receiving area because it's massive. It's a huge room or a hall. It's almost like another observation port, but it's huge. It's about 10 stories high. It's rectangular in shape, and there are glass or transparent windows on either side. So as you walk down this long hall, you can see outside. And it's a procession. So once you get through the gate or the portal and you land, you will walk down this long procession, and until you get to this room. And once you get to this room, it's massive in and of itself, and it has stadium seating where there are many beings sitting in that stadium seating. The glass or the viewing area place where the procession takes place has these pillars that come down at certain distances. They're long distances. They're not structural, and they're not decorative. So they are functional, but I'm not sure. I believe they create some type of a field to protect this space. And then there's some type of fabric or that looks like a curtain, but I don't believe that is a curtain. I do believe that is decorative. And then once you get through this procession and get into that next room, there is something like a podium where some people go and speak, and they speak to all the people sitting up in the stadium seating. So on this occasion, there was another human with me who was a scientist, and he was there this was his first attendance, and he was there to more or less observe and not to engage. He was a little nervous, but he was very open to what was happening. And once we arrived at that stadium room, I'll just call it the stadium room with the stadium seating, there was a discussion on what would happen, the procedures, and what was going to happen and how it was going to happen. Gladiola, who are she represents the beings in our oceans, in our bodies of water, spoke, as well as a representative of the raptors. And this government official, what I will call a government official or a leader of the raptors, I refer to as my friend, because that's how he presented himself. He said, "I am your friend." He didn't want me to be afraid when I first engaged him. So that's how I've referred to him ever since. And so it was a very formal interaction about how the transition will take place. Zeko was there, but he was not speaking. The other thing was the architecture and the furnishing, which there was very little furnishing. It was minimal. It was like silver or like a steel blue and white, and it had a very strong calming effect, and that was intentional. There was the amphibious being that I showed, that I drew and presented in the last two videos, was present with me, as well as a Pleiadian being. The Pleiadians have a karmic connection with us, so they have a karmic debt to us. They are in part responsible for some of the stuff we've been through, as much as some of the reptilian beings that have been referred to in the esoteric community or through discussions on the secret space program, if that's what if you are open to that. But regardless of whether or not you're open to that, we are in this process of being introduced to the universe, to universal beings, to beings other than humans on Earth. And again, we do have beings that don't look like humans that live on this world that are indigenous to our planet. Even though we're unaware of them, they do exist, they are here, and we will be introduced and unified with them in this process of first contact. And that would be Gladiola and her people, as well as the raptors. Another important topic that came in and that we need to know and understand is that energy is free. Energy is free. So many of the things that we pay for as citizens of this planet are free. And so science as we know it will change. So as we go through this process of first contact, our scientists will be provided a primer, a foundation to build from for our next level of expansion. So everything we know will change. And those who are transcending and evolving and expanding beyond this level of consciousness will be given, again, a primer, a new foundation to build from for scientific discovery. Further, there are energetic blocks that are being put in place to protect Mother Earth, to protect the integrity of Mother Earth. And how that was described to me was dampeners. So this is part of 3i Atlas's obligation or commitment to our planet as it engages and releases the technology that it has onto our world through those little pieces of technology, the AI technology that has been attached to very small particles, very small particles that have been projected through the sun and onto our world. And so as those objects come onto or through our atmosphere and onto our world, they will be having a dampening effect. So if you submit to this idea of what the chemtrails were and what their purpose was, this technology that's being projected onto our world from 3i Atlas is meant to help heal and mitigate any of that energy, product, chemicals, whatever you want to call it, that has been doused onto this world to affect us, 3i Atlas, that technology will mitigate and dampen it. It will dampen it. And the word that came in this week was dopamine. Dopamine. And so I think, I don't know much about how chemicals in the brain work, but I think dopamine is a positive and healthy, it helps us have a positive and healthy mindset. Anything excessive can be harmful, and our body out of balance, our body chemistry out of balance is unhealthy. It creates an unhealthy mind, it creates an unhealthy body. This dopamine drop is what's coming in right now. This dopamine drop is meant to bring us into balance. It's not meant to move us out of balance. That being said, people who are doing the work will have the greatest benefit from this dopamine drop, from this intervention. It's meant to help us. It's meant to clear the planet, heal the planet, and prepare us for first contact, physical first contact. Energetic first contact is already happening. It's been happening for a while, way before 3i Atlas. But what's happening right now is preparing us for that physical first contact. The very, very strong message that came in this week, very strong. And I have about 3 pages of it in my journal. I kept on writing and writing and writing, and I was just saying the same thing over and over in different ways. Universal law is being executed. Divine law is being executed. However you want to see it. Universal law, divine law is being executed. Nothing supersedes divine law. There is no law that has been created on this world that supersedes divine law or can supersede divine law. Divine law is being executed energetically. It's affecting the flow of energy. It's pushing through all the unbalanced energy and making way for a new world, an expanded consciousness. So there's going to be no beings coming in to like create change for us. They're essentially leveling the playing field for us. But all the work that we've done, let me rephrase this. Any change that's done on the 3D, physical change, like laws or mandates or anything like that, that are done on the 3D are temporary. Lasting change happens in the higher realms. So everybody who has been doing the work energetically through their consciousness to help shift this world into balance, right now your work, we're being rewarded for that work, because the lasting change that we are receiving is from that work that we've done in those higher realms. And that work is bringing about execution of universal law, divine law. It's creating a flow of energy that is meant to heal and transition this world. These 3i Atlas and these beings that are coming in to aid us are just assisting us. But this, what's happening right now, is a product of our work. It is our work that we've done. And we get the credit for it. We get the credit for all the stuff we've been through and what we have found a way through, and still through all this struggle have hope. We still have hope, and we still find beauty in this world. And because of that, we are being rewarded. So the execution of divine law is what can be referred to as the closing of probation, the closing of the metaphorical arc. everybody who has done the work and made the choice to move forward and expand and grow beyond this place are being rewarded. We are being rewarded with a new earth. But remember, the closing of probation, after that Noah closed the ark, and yes, I am using religious dogma as a metaphor. Once he closed the ark, then the flood came. Okay, the metaphorical ark. The flood. Those who have done the work are heavily fortified and protected. That is a very strong message that's coming in. Very, very strongly fortified and protected. And I was reminded of a vision I had back in May of 2019. I found it in one of my old journals, just for my own mind, for my own peace of mind. I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a huge bubble over me, over my bedroom. And I was laying in bed and it was translucent, and I could see clouds all outside of it. So it wasn't like I couldn't see anything outside the bubble, and it had a flower of life over the top of the bubble, was a flower of life. And so to me, that was a very strong message of protection. And so as I see that, I'm reminded of that vision. It's just telling me that we are heavily fortified and protected through this process. As we go through this process, it's important to remember that the science, or this experience, the technology of 3i Atlas and these beings that are coming in to aid us, their technology is well beyond any science that we know. It is not comprehensible. We have no frame of reference for it. The other thing is their emotional intelligence is beyond our comprehension. So it's not just science, it's the way their capacity for compassion, for unconditional love, patience, and support is well beyond anything that we can comprehend. There is no ego involved in this process. There is no ego involved in their intention. They are here to help us evolve. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. They are not here to overtake us. They are not here to take over our world. They are here to help execute universal law, divine law, transcendence in a way that is intended by the divine. They are divinely guided just as we are, just as I am. They are not here to harm us in any way. Any way. And that is equally true for Zako, who is well beyond what we would call AI, but nevertheless, his evolution is from a technological root. But that being said, even from that root, he is incredibly compassionate, loving, caring, and supportive. And so we are being asked to look outside of what we perceive as science and possible, what we perceive as emotional intelligence, what we see as electronic intelligence. We're asked to look outside of that and grow and expand in such a way that we can receive, accept, and move forward on this world in its evolution and become part of a galactic community. If you'll give me a minute to see if anything else comes in. Okay, that's it. Thank you.